critiques. Now he's joining the panel on NBC's hit show America's Got Talent. Natalie sat down with Simon to talk about his big return to TV and whether being a dad has turned him into a big softie.
For years, the world knew Simon Cowell as the sharp-tongued television judge who built an empire by telling people exactly what he thought. Success, fame, and business defined his life. But behind the cameras, Simon would face a challenge no amount of wealth or influence could prepare him for. After his young son received a life-changing diagnosis, everything he believed about fatherhood and life itself began to change. What followed was an emotional goodbye to the future he had once imagined and the beginning of a new life built on love and acceptance. From fame to fatherhood. Long before becoming a father, Simon Cowell's life revolved around work. As one of television's most recognizable personalities, he spent years discovering new talent, producing hit shows, and building a global entertainment empire. His demanding schedule left little room for anything else. Long hours, constant travel, and business meetings defined his everyday life. And by his own admission, fatherhood wasn't something he had seriously planned for. Everything changed in 2013. That year, Simon's relationship with Lauren Silverman became front-page news. The romance attracted widespread media attention, and the headlines only grew louder when it was revealed that Lauren was expecting Simon's child. While the public focused on controversy, Simon was quietly preparing for the biggest change of his life. On February 14, 2014, their son Eric was born. From the moment he saw his son, Simon realized something inside him had changed. The man who had spent decades putting work above everything else suddenly found himself looking forward to bedtime stories, family outings, and the everyday moments that once seemed impossible to imagine. Eric's name held special meaning. Simon named him after his late father, Eric Philip Cowell, honoring the man who had played such an important role in his own life. Becoming a father brought back memories of his parents and gave him a renewed appreciation for family. Success no longer felt measured by television ratings or business deals. Instead, it was found in the quiet moments he shared with his son. Friends soon noticed that Simon had changed. He began turning down projects that kept him away from home, choosing family time over work whenever possible. The television judge, known for his tough personality, was becoming a devoted father. Unlike many children his age, Eric spoke very little. At first, Simon convinced himself that every child develops differently. Friends and family offered the same reassurance, reminding him that some children simply reach milestones later than others. Still, something didn't feel right. The feeling stayed with him long after everyone else stopped worrying. Deep down, Simon sensed that his son was experiencing the world differently. He hoped he was wrong. Soon, however, one family vacation would confirm the fears he had been trying so hard to dismiss. The diagnosis that changed everything. Simon tried to believe Eric was simply developing at his own pace. After all, every child grows differently. Friends and family reminded him that delayed speech wasn't always a cause for concern, and for a while, he held on to that hope. But the questions never went away. As Eric approached his second birthday, he still wasn't speaking like other children his age. Simon also noticed that his son reacted differently to unfamiliar places and unexpected changes in routine. It wasn't fear that drove his concern, it was instinct. After years of judging performers by noticing the smallest details, Simon couldn't shake the feeling that something about Eric's development was different. The uncertainty weighed heavily on him. Night after night, Simon searched for answers, reading about child development and hoping to better understand what his son was experiencing. The turning point came during a family holiday. Simon had hoped the trip would be a chance for everyone to relax together. Instead, it revealed challenges that were becoming impossible to ignore. The resort was filled with loud music, crowded spaces, and constant activity. While most children enjoyed the excitement, Eric struggled to cope with the unfamiliar environment. Changes to his routine unsettled him. New foods, different surroundings, and the constant noise quickly became overwhelming. Then one evening, everything came to a head. As families gathered for dinner, the restaurant buzzed with conversation, music, and the sound of clinking dishes. Eric suddenly covered his ears, began rocking back and forth, and withdrew from everything happening around him. Simon tried to comfort him, but nothing seemed to ease his distress. It was heartbreaking to watch. That night, Simon and Lauren reached a decision they had been avoiding for months. They knew it was time to seek professional help, not because they wanted to change Eric, but because they wanted to understand him. The months that followed were filled with appointments, evaluations, and conversations with specialists. Simon and Lauren answered countless questions about Eric's behavior, communication, and daily routines, hoping each step would bring them closer to understanding what their son needed. Then, in December 2018, they finally received an answer. Doctors diagnosed Eric with autism spectrum disorder. Although Simon had prepared himself for the possibility, hearing the words aloud was an emotional moment. The uncertainty was gone, replaced by a new reality that would reshape their lives forever. But the diagnosis also brought something unexpected: clarity. The specialists explained that Eric wasn't broken or falling behind. He simply experienced the world differently. Loud sounds, unfamiliar environments, and sudden changes could feel overwhelming, while routines helped him feel safe and secure. They also pointed out Eric's remarkable strengths, including his ability to notice patterns, focus intensely, and see details that many people overlooked. For Simon, that changed everything. He stopped asking why his son was different and started asking how he could help him thrive. Instead of trying to fit Eric into the world's expectations, Simon became determined to build a world that worked for Eric. It was the beginning of a journey that would transform not only his son, but Simon himself. An emotional goodbye and a new beginning. The diagnosis didn't change who Eric was. He was still the same little boy Simon loved with all his heart. What changed was Simon's understanding of the journey ahead. For a brief moment, he had to let go of the future he had imagined. Like many parents, Simon had pictured long conversations with his son, spontaneous family adventures, and milestones arriving exactly as expected. After Eric's diagnosis, he realized that some of those moments might look very different or arrive on a completely different timeline. That was the emotional goodbye. It wasn't a goodbye to Eric. It was a goodbye to expectations that no longer mattered. From that moment on, Simon focused on understanding his son's needs instead of comparing him to other children. His family's routine gradually changed. Therapy became part of everyday life, helping Eric develop his communication, social, and daily living skills. Simon also learned how important structure and consistency were. Small adjustments at home made a big difference, creating an environment where Eric felt comfortable and secure. As Eric continued to grow, Simon's priorities changed with him. The businessman, who once accepted almost every opportunity, became far more selective about his work. Projects that required long periods away from home were no longer as important. Spending time with Eric became his greatest priority. Fatherhood also changed the way Simon viewed success. Success no longer meant television ratings or hit shows. Watching Eric make progress, no matter how small, became Simon's greatest achievement. Simon also became fiercely protective of his son's privacy. As public curiosity grew, he carefully chose what to share and what to keep within the family. While he wanted to help people better understand autism, he also believed Eric deserved the chance to grow up without constantly being judged by strangers. Over time, Simon spoke openly about the importance of early support and greater understanding of autism. Rather than focusing only on the challenges, he encouraged people to recognize the unique strengths that many autistic children possess. His message was simple: every child deserves patience, acceptance, and the opportunity to thrive in their own way. Looking back, Simon often admitted that becoming Eric's father changed him more than anything else in his life. The man, once known for his sharp criticism, discovered that the greatest lessons didn't come from television or business. They came from watching his son experience the world in his own unique way. Simon Cowell's greatest transformation didn't happen in front of television cameras. It happened at home, where he learned that love isn't about holding on to the future you once imagined. It's about embracing the one that's right in front of you. Eric's diagnosis marked the end of one chapter, but it also became the beginning of another. It taught Simon that every milestone, no matter how small, deserves to be celebrated, and that true success isn't measured by fame or fortune, but by the love, patience, and understanding we give the people who matter most. If this story touched you, let us know your thoughts in the comments below. Don't forget to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and join us for more inspiring stories about the people behind the headlines.